Hello everyone, this is Direwolf20 and welcome to episode 98 of Direwolf20's Let's Play series. Today we're working back with our nuclear reactor. Nice. So last episode we did some things and stuff. We set up a nuclear reactor, we filled it with uranium fuel, we set up a system that will automatically fill it up with cold coolant, turn that cold coolant into hot coolant, and store that hot coolant in a drum. And the system should automatically turn on whenever there's a certain amount of cold coolant in there. That's basically the gist. Part of me wouldn't mind something of a kill switch here. And I might even want to set that up real quick. Let's move this guy back here. So what I could do is set up something like this with a lever out here. We're going to want to have a little bit more cold coolant to test this. So we'll have to probably test it after I set up the next stage of this build, but we'll get there. We're going to want another connector from XNet. And that should be cool. And we'll call this kill switch. And we're going to set it up so that kill switch is going to be a sensor. Redstone. I guess what we're going to want to say is equal to 15. And if so, emit the red color line. And then over here, we're going to say enable on white and red. So in theory, if that's set up properly, what that means is that this guy will sense and emit white. This guy will sense if there's a redstone signal coming in. In fact, I'm just going to make it greater than 1. That'll basically mean on of any strength, because you know how redstone conduits are funny with their numbering. That should be fine. And that'll emit red, and then this thing will only output a redstone signal if both white and red are on. In theory. So that means this reactor should only run when this guy's activated and we have enough coolant. If that doesn't work, there's obviously other shenanigans we can pull. So with that in mind, what we're going to do next is find a use for this hot coolant. So for that, we're going to need a few things. There's a few components that we put together to generate EU, or energy units, out of our system. Now, before I do that, I'm going to want to get some hot coolant. I'm also going to want to access our distilled water that I have upstairs, but first I'm going to talk to you guys about what's needed, right? So the first thing we need to get is a steam boiler. This guy is responsible for turning water into steam or distilled water into steam, and it does so by receiving heat. So basically we need one steam boiler, and you need, if you want to do superheated steam, which trust me you do, you're going to need heat exchangers. You're going to need 200 heat units, and you can get 100 heat units per heat exchanger, wherever it is, liquid heat exchanger, this guy. That's what we're going to need. So basically you need 2 heat exchangers plus 1 steam boiler to get superheated steam out of water. And then, once we have superheated steam, we put that into a steam turbine. That superheated steam spins the turbine, which you hook up to a generator to generate EU, and then it outputs regular steam. Regular steam can be put into another steam turbine, which it spins, and it generates half as much EU. So by doing superheated steam, you pretty much get triple your output, right? Because you get superheated steam gives you double the output of regular steam, but then it turns into regular steam, so you can get another set of output. So we're going to need 2 steam turbines to turn superheated steam into steam, and then steam back into distilled water. Complicated-ish, but that's why it's fun. The other trick with steam generators is there's really no limit to how much superheated steam or steam you can pipe into them. The limit is how much energy the kinetic generator, which I didn't show you yet, but it's this guy. The steam turbine basically turns this thing, and this generates EU from the rotational energy of the kinetic generator. This guy has a limit on it because he's power tier 3, which if we look at cables, this is tier 2, I think, and Yeah, gold is tier 3. So because it's power tier 3 on the kinetic, the max EU it can output is around 512 EU per tick. So we can pipe as much superheated steam as we want into that block, but we're only going to be able to pull out of it 512 EU per tick. My calculations that I've done, and this has been a while since I've tested this, but it should be about the same, is about 5 steam boilers will be able to produce enough superheated steam to produce around that 500 EU per tick. And then we'll get another couple hundred out of the regular steam. So around 700 to 800 EU per tick is what we're talking about. And that's not so shabby. It's actually pretty good. And we're gonna pretty much build this whole thing right about now. So let's get the components that we need. Because we need so many of these things, it's probably going to behoove us to right over to here and start some teaching. So a couple things we're going to need. We're going to need steam turbines. Now these guys we don't need, we only need 2 of these. But we do need a lot of steam boilers. So I think it would be wise to teach you how to make steam boilers. You should definitely learn how to make heat conductors. And steam boiler, the other thing you need to know is how to make copper boiler, which hopefully you know. I don't know if you know copper item casing, but I'll teach it if I need to. So now you should know how to make steam boiler. We're also going to want liquid heat exchangers, which you should know how to make most of these things. You know how to make universal fluid cells? You don't, but it's about time you learned. So with all those things programmed in, we should be cool. And here's how I'm going to set this up, guys. I'm going to set it up with 1 set of steam turbine and all that good stuff, and then we'll do another 4 sets in addition to that, right? So first things first, we're going to need a steam boiler, just 1. So you don't know how to make copper item casings. You do know how to make whatever you need for that. So copper item casings, let's get that taught. So for a steam boiler, learn that pattern, IC2 machines. Look at you being all full. I think that's okay. Craft. Ah, yeah, you're extracting from there, huh? You should be able to go... That should be cool. And he's online already. So now if I request a steam boiler, nice. And if I request 2 heat exchangers, because that's how many we need. And in addition to heat exchangers, we're going to need some of these heat conductors. We're going to need quite a few of them, actually, but we'll get to that in a minute. So we've got our steam boiler. And we're going to need liquid heat exchangers, which are probably in process of being created. Dun, 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 dun. While I'm at it, I'm going to get a couple drums. Let's get 2 of these bad boys. Cool. And our heat exchangers are done. Now the question really becomes, where do we want to set this up? I'm thinking in this area. In this little basement-y area, which I really didn't make as large as I probably should have, but that's on me for being a derp. I really did not do a great job of setting up this basement area. So there's a couple things we have to do, or could do. We could set this up way downstairs, but then we're going to have energy loss. Because we're going to want to send the EU up. And even if I use glass fiber cables, which are not too bad in terms of expensiveness, just needs a little bit of diamonds. Pretty much 4 diamonds. Yeah, it's expensive-ish. They have a really small amount of EU loss per block. So, I mean, I guess we'd go 40 blocks before we lost a single EU per tick. I guess that's not terrible. I guess that's not terrible. We could probably do that. So we could have this all set up down here. I just don't know if there's enough room for me to do it down here. Right. I'd rather pipe the cold and hot liquids up to this main area here and have this under here. That's what I think I'll do. I'll stick to it being under here. So you guys are good. Maybe I will... Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to clear out this area. Cool. It's not the most elegant looking build, but I'm pretty sure you guys aren't coming to my videos for that at this point. I think y'all have figured out that most of my builds aren't super elegant, though I am proud of the reactor room. I do think that looks pretty cool, if I do say so myself. Cool. Alright, let me make sure that this is all good in terms of lighting. It does look good. I would love to be able to not have these cables be here. So I might have to figure that out. We'll be back in a minute. Alright guys, I think that's pretty good. I could paint that facade to match the wall, but it's all cool. That should be fine. That's a little bit more organized, right? I decided to pipe the energy into the back of the MFA here. So it should be running, actually, right? Yeah, good. These guys are running. Nice. All right, so that looks good to me. And then we can have our steam generation stuff back here. So basically, let's set up a smallish amount of steam generation, and then we'll ramp it up a little bit. That's kind of the plan. And we'll see what happens from there. So, where is this guy? Because I've got so much junk in my inventory right now. So first things first, we're going to need to start producing steam. The best way to do that, honestly, that I've found, is to set up kind of a system like this. Now, with steam liquid heat exchangers, it's kind of the same as an MFSU, in that there's one spot that steam will output to, but if you have your wrench handy, you can shift right-click on the opposite side, and what you'll find is that it turns to that direction. Cool. The steam boiler isn't really sided, so it doesn't matter. It can accept heat from any side. And then we'll set that up here. So basically, we've got the two liquid heat exchangers there, and then we're gonna have steam boilers in the middle, right? So the liquid heat exchangers, we pump hot liquid in, the liquid turns to cold liquid. Basically, it will turn back into cold coolant. And then we also need heat conductors. The more heat conductors we have, the more conversion there is. We can have a total of 100 heat units per tick. It's 10 heat units per tick per heat conductor. So if we want to have the full 100 that we want in this, we need 10 heat conductors. And we're going to need 10 more here as well. So we're going to want heat conductors times about 20. Cool? So we'll start that up. So that's about a stack of rubber, by the way, or 2 stacks of rubber, actually, that we're producing. And this guy over here is going to be, you know, crushing some copper into some plates. That'll get us our heat conductors. The steam boiler. It's a complicated looking interface, but it's really not hard. So the top number up here is how much pressure is going to be in the steam boiler. There's a magic number, 221 bars. That's all you got to know. If you want to do superheated steam, that's the number you want to be at. Basically, the higher the pressure, the more heat required, and the more you can output. 221 is where you're going to want to be. This is how much water per tick is going to come in. I'm going to set it to 1 millibucket. 1 millibucket per tick at 221 bars is going to equate to 100 millibuckets per tick of superheated steam. So the next thing we're going to want is some of our distilled water. This is basically what we're going to want to turn into steam. There's a reason we're using distilled water. So you could use, if you wanted to, regular water. That would be fine. However, if you use regular water, the steam boiler is going to build up calcification, which doesn't do a single thing until the calcification hits 100%, at which point the steam boiler stops working. So if you use distilled water, you get to completely ignore that line. Calcification never builds up because distilled water is pure. Regular water is not pure, so therefore calcification builds up. If you decide to use regular water, just note that once this hits 100%, you can break the machine with your wrench and replace it, and it'll reset the calcification number. Cool? So what I'm going to do here is set up a drum that's going to basically pipe our stuff in here. And I'm going to put a drum on this side. Eventually, this is going to be a little bit different. And I'm also going to want Ender... Did I teach you how to make this stuff? I want more of this. This is the good stuff, Ender fluid conduits. Yeah. Let's get some binder composite, like times stack. That should be nice and quick. I want to use Ender fluid conduits, and I will tell you why. Ender fluid conduits can transfer multiple liquids at a time through the same conduit system, which is like pretty unique and therefore pretty awesome. I really like it, and that's what we're going to use. So basically, let's set up a simple system. And again, most of this is just for the aspect of teaching you guys how this works. We'll make it a little bit more functional in a bit. But basically, I'm going to transfer it like so. Okay, we're going to set this dude up. And we're basically going to pipe distilled water out of this drum into the steam boiler. And the steam boiler is going to convert it into superheated steam, at which point the superheated steam will go ahead and get deposited in this drum. Cool. So let's get that going. In order for that to work, we're going to need those heat dudes. We're going to have to place them in the liquid heat exchanger. The other thing we're going to need to do is get our hot and cold coolant up here, because we need to pipe hot coolant into the liquid heat exchanger, and it'll turn it into cold coolant, which will get piped out. So let's get our conduit probe as well. I should have that dude, because we're going to need to be copying and pasting quite a few things. So this is all going to be part of the same liquid conduit system. Okay, so on the heat exchangers, right, I'm going to open up the UI, and we're going to say you're doing insert and extract, right? Extract will be cold coolant, and insert will be hot coolant. Okay, and I have to remember how this works now. Copied conduit settings, pasted conduit settings. Nice, cool. So cold coolant going out, inserting hot, extracting cold. Okay, and we're going to set that to auto extract. And let's copy that dude again. Remember, you have to click on the actual connector, not just the cable. Cool. So for this guy, I don't have a bucket of superheated steam, so here's how I'm going to do it. We're going to say in and out. Your extract will be not superheated, or will be not, I'm going to need a bucket, distilled water. Boom. Okay. Your extract will be blacklisted distilled water, and your insert will be whitelisted distilled water. Okay. And you're going to auto extract. And then over here, you are going to be insert, blacklist, not distilled water, hot or cold coolant. Okay. Once I get a bucket of superheated steam, I can probably whitelist superheated steam, but for now, this will work. Cool. Trust me. So that's pretty much that. So we should be good now. So if we were to go downstairs, what I'm going to have to do now is drill all the way down to the bottom of the earth until we get to about Y level 10-ish. So what we're going to want to do down here is say you are going to be insert whitelist cold coolant, and you are going to be extract always whitelisted hot coolant. This thing will only ever have hot coolant in it, and this thing should only ever have cold coolant in it, but let's just be safe, right? Since we have a filter, it's easy enough to implement. Cool. You can be here, and then what we'll do is run that. Let's put away this stuff that I don't need. Inventory filling up like crazy. And I'm going to need a lot more Ender fluid conduits, like a stack-ish. Cool. I thought I was in the right spot. I am not. Cool. So we'll be back in a minute. I'm thinking I need to craft some more vibrant alloys, probably. We have a few more. Let's get like 10 more of them. And I should also craft quartz glass, right? Because Ender fluid conduits needs fused quartz. So we'll get about 10 of those. And conduit binders, I'll kick off the crafting of that. And we'll be back in a minute. I'll go craft it manually. All right, guys, so in theory, if everything is configured correctly, once I connect this last Ender fluid conduit, we should see hot coolant going in there being turned into cold coolant, and the cold coolant being sent back downstairs into that drum. And this is where the real test of everything that I've set up comes into play. So let's hook it up. Nice. Hot coolant. You should need water, which I should distilled water, this guy, on the whitelist. So you're really only ever going to be an extract, right? So the distilled water is in there, okay? It needs to get up to 375C. You guys are producing hot coolant, which is good. Let's go into our basement and see what's happening. Because in theory, one of two things could be happening. Either the reactor is running at the moment because there's cold coolant down there, or it's not. We'll find out. So cold coolant is slowly being let back into the reactor. The reactor's not running, even though it could be, or should be, because we're over that threshold. Remember earlier in the episode, I added this lever. So this is really me testing this lever right now. So cold coolant is coming down here. It's filling back up. I'm going to flip the lever. Interesting. What if I made you black again? Are you running now? You are. So why are you being funny about that? Let's leave that for the time being. So you're producing hot coolant again, which is nice. And at some point this should shut off. Yay, it did. Cool. Nice. Good deal. So everything's kind of working the way you would expect it to, right? It's doing what we want it to do. It's turning on as needed and then turning off automatically. I kind of wanted to babysit this a little bit because, as you know, big explosions can happen if not done properly. Just wanted to kind of figure out why. Sensor mode greater than or equal to 1. That should pretty much be cool. I make this red. You know what I could do if I really want to test it? Let's wait for this to get back to the 8,000 mark and see if it turns on. It won't take too long. Yeah, still not turning on. Interesting. And this is getting the redstone signal, right? Yeah, you can totally see this being lit up. XNet and redstone, still a little bit of work that needs to be done. But for now, we'll just set this to white only mode, and then we'll figure that out at some point down the line. So right now, this kill switch isn't doing anything. There's other things I can do, obviously. I can use an AND gate instead of the XNet thing. I'm basically trying to use the XNet controller as an AND gate, and realistically what I could do is AND gate the redstone directly. So over here, what we should be getting is superheated steam. Hooray, we got here just in time. As soon as this guy hit 375, he starts converting distilled water into superheated steam, which is beautiful. That's what I like to see. Nice. Now, at some point, we're going to run out of distilled water here. Or we won't run out of distilled water, but we'll fill up this drum with superheated steam. Because as you can see, we're already filling it up pretty quickly. So let's get a bucket's worth of superheated steam. I should be able to do that. Just so I can set up whitelisting. So I'm going to change you. Whoops, see, that's what happens. It's okay, no problems. You're filling up again. So if you don't have anywhere to send your superheated steam, you're going to see explosions. Those won't damage the blocks around you, but it will harm players and monsters. Neat. Now, if we want to stop this from running, is there auto extract? There's not a redstone signal for inserting, right? So realistically, if we want to stop this, we're going to need wireless redstone. Receiver, transmitter. Let's use channel 4 for this, because apparently I have a channel 4 somewhere that I wasn't using. All right, we're going to set up channel 4 with a lever. I'm going to activate you, because why not? We'll go down to the basement, and I'm going to set up a redstone conduiting under here. Cool. So you can see that redstone signal's on, and now I'm going to say to you, only extract when you have a redstone signal. So you should be extracting, in theory. Good. Right? I'm going to go up here. Whoosh. And we're going to turn off the extraction, right? So right now we have a full amount of IC2 hot coolant. We turn this off, and hot coolant starts to slow down, which will kind of halt the whole system. that was just in time, actually. Because the drum filled up, we had nowhere for that superheated steam to go, hence the explosions. Like I said, only hurts the players, doesn't hurt anybody else. If we wanted to flip the lever again, we'd get hot coolant. This will be explosions again. Cool. Oh, not cool, hot. So that's perfect. There we go. So next thing's next. We're going to want a steam turbine, which is going to require some steel item casing, which is a steel plate. So let's get some. We want 2 of these, so I'm going to hammer these into a plate. And then you're going to be double hammered. Cool. Steam turbine needs 2 iron shafts, which is a block of iron. I'm going to want 4 of those, and I just noticed there weren't overclocker upgrades in there. Steam turbine. We're also going to want 2 copper of these guys. And cells times 2. So that should be pretty close to what we need, in theory. There they are. Nice. So 1 steam turbine, 2 steam turbines. Cool. The other thing we need is kinetic generators, which will be, so we're going to need a dozen iron item casings. We're going to need 2 generators, 2 electric motors, and 2 more shafts. I don't think I taught you how to make iron shafts, though. So 2 generators, 2 iron shafts, and kinetic generator, we need 2 more motors. Lots of things to craft, but it shouldn't be too bad. Nice. Just waiting on the motors. That's cool. So remember, we pipe steam into the turbine. That turns the kinetic generator, which generates EU per tick. Cool? So there's our 2 motors. That's our 2 kinetic generators. There's one more thing we're going to need, and that's called a condenser. The condenser, I don't fully understand why this is a thing, but the steam turbine, I don't think, can manage the amount of steam coming in for whatever reason, and sometimes there's excess steam that's lost. The condenser captures the excess steam that's lost and converts it back into distilled water for you. That's the gist. How? Why? Huh? I don't know. But 4 cells, 3 casings, a circuit, and a machine. So let's get a machine-based casing, a circuit, 4 cells, and that should be good. Cool. So we'll get our condenser here. Oh yeah, 2 more casings. So that should be pretty close to what I need. Nice. There's my condenser. Beautiful. All right. So let's go set these up in the setup that we're going to want. Now, I don't have a bucket for steam, so we're probably going to have to blacklist that. But we'll figure it out. So let's imagine that eventually we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 more of these. So let's use this area to manage this setup. And let's pretend even that we're going to want to have the power coming in this way. So let's pretend that we're going to have our 2 steam turbines. We will put, these are the steam turbines? Yes. Here and here. And we'll put our condenser here. This is going to get superheated steam. The superheated steam will be converted to steam, which is going to go into here. This guy is going to convert that steam into distilled water, and it's going to send it back to this drum. And this guy is going to condense excess steam from this guy and turn it also into distilled water, which will make its way to that drum. Cool. For the kinetic generator, we basically place these dudes down and shift right click that direction. And then the last thing I'm going to want to do is upgrade these to gold insulated cabling. Now this guy can accept 512 EU per tick. We have 14 of these. That might be good. I'm going to need my paintbrush. Wow, you really do a bad job of remembering what your paintbrush colors are, don't you? Cool. So I'm going to paint you blue. Okay, and then the kinetic generators are going to basically generate your EU. So we'll see how much EU per tick we're generating as a result of this. There's two more things we need. A steam turbine itself. So let's get those guys going. That is 3 of these, which needs 8 steel plates per blade. And we need 3 blades, so 24 steel plates. And we need 2 of these, so we need 48 steel plates. Wow, I literally have 2 more steel than I need. Yeah, that's cool. And then steam turbine blade also needs a single steel ingot, which I need a few more steel ingots. So let's get iron, I think it is. We'll throw that into here, and you should start running. Nice. I don't think I can put overclockers in the blast furnace, by the way, can I? No, it runs on heat only, so there's no slot for overclockers. Yeah, no overclocker upgrades available there. So we're going to need a few more ingots, so we'll be right back. In fact, guys, we've kind of hit the wrapping up point for the episode, so here's what I'm going to do. Let's come back next episode, and we'll finish this setup. So currently we've got it to the point where we can turn distilled water into superheated steam. The next steps will be to be piping the superheated steam into the steam turbines, collecting everything, and sending that power into our MFE. Cool. And then we'll probably also even want to do some kind of MFE RF or redstone reader to do this. And I'll also look about how I could, if we go into our basement, hopefully there's not a big explosion down there. In theory, there shouldn't be. Yay! Automation worked! That's what I like to see. It looks like everything is behaving down here. I didn't actually check on this, and it occurred to me like, maybe there was an explosion, but luckily there wasn't, so hooray. So yeah, we'll come back next time, and we will get the steam flowing into those generators, and we can start actually producing EU out of this whole system. Like I said, it's a pretty complex setup, but it's also a lot of fun to automate, because there's a lot of moving parts, and I really enjoy how it's a closed-loop system. Once we've produced all the distilled water we're going to ever need, we're good, right? Like, we don't need any more. We actually have way more distilled water than I think we'll ever need, because all the steam turns back into distilled water. Like, there's never a net loss, or at least there shouldn't be. And the same for coolant. All our hot coolant and cold coolant, we should have the exact same amount at all times. It just heats it and then cools it back down. So for now, Daryl20 signing off. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. We'll come back next time and probably wrap this build up. What we'll do is we'll get these guys implemented, and then we'll probably build off camera more steam boilers and heat exchangers. All right, guys, take it easy.